Welcome to our soul tribe. I am Eva. It is my desire to provide insights that will enhance your spiritual journey. Whether you are seeking to remove emotional blockages, find peace, or guidance along your path, I am here to support you. Thank you for allowing me into your space. This is our first video, and I like to dive right into talking a little bit about myself and who I am. I am somebody that is in recovery, okay? I am recovering from life. What I want to focus on today is my mental health, okay? Because the mental health is what led me to experiencing so many trials and tribulations because I didn't understand what was going on with me mentally, spiritually, right? So at a very early age, I had a lot of emotional instabilities, and I did not understand, nor did I convey this to the adults in my life, because I was from a very old school family. It's always somebody worse off than you. You think you have it bad. When I was younger, I had to walk to school in 5 inches of snow, with holes in the bottom of my shoe. When you hear stories like that, it's really hard for you to say, hey, I'm feeling sad and I don't know why, right? So because of that caused me to withdraw a lot. For example, I can remember a time when I was on the school bus, and there were a lot of children on that school bus, all different grades, all different ages. And I remember that this one particular day, my emotions overcame me so strong, and I started crying like hysterically, right? And before, I've had those feelings before, but usually I could kind of like sift back the tears. And if anybody say, why your eyes are watering, oh, that's just allergies. But this particular day, it was like full out crying. This wasn't an allergy thing. This was absolutely something's wrong, what's going on. So of course people around me were like, oh, what's wrong, what's going on? And I didn't know how to say, nothing's going on. Everything's fine, but everything's not fine. And I don't know why I'm crying. Because, of course, people probably think she's crazy, right? Or she's looking for attention. I got that a lot growing up. Looking for attention, drama queen, spoiled, all these things, right? So, again, what that caused me to do was to lie. So now I'm starting to lie, somebody died, right? Because that would be, in my mind, that was a valid reason for somebody to be crying hysterically when somebody close to you has died. So that was the initial lie, somebody died, and that absolutely wasn't true. And then there were times after that where the crying and the hysteria and all of that became too much. So there's more lies, right? And what that led to was now me being looked at as a liar. So I didn't fully understand what was going on with me. And again, I completely withdrew from things. I started to slip in my school work, so my grades started going down. And, I gravitated toward a crowd that introduced me to something that absolutely helped me keep my emotions in check. And that was the weed smokers, drinkers. That is a group that pretty much anybody's accepted into. And again, I was introduced to a substance that absolutely made me feel better for the moment. I didn't understand drugs and alcohol, the way that I do now. All I know is that it helped me for that moment. And for a child, that's pretty much what we're thinking about, moment to moment. We're not thinking about long term and the future and what this can do, and it causes lung problems and the alcohol mess up your liver. Like, children are not thinking about that, right? All I know is that it helped me for the moment so that I could appear to be stronger than what I was really feeling on the inside. And that led to a long life of stuffing my problems behind substances, right? And the weed and the alcohol turned to cocaine, turned to crack, and eventually turned to heroin as well. And I am proud to say that I now have 7 years clean from all mind and mood altering substances. I'm very proud of that. November 6th is my clean date, so I'm extremely excited about that. That's coming up. But I want to get back to the mental health part of it, right? Because again, like I said, I did not understand what was going on with me. And because I didn't share it with anybody, people were not able to really give me insight, right? And then as I got a little older, and I was forced into therapy because, the life that I lived, it led to prostitution. It led to teenage pregnancy, the birth of my child, not really having an emotional attachment to him. However, I had my parents to support me, but I was still, again, navigating through this life. Now I have the emotional issues where it started. Now it's more trauma that I've experienced, right? And then the drug and alcohol problem. So all of that led me to a lot of different times in my life where I had to be hospitalized for psychiatric care. A lot of trouble. Jail is not part of my story, so I am grateful for that. However, a lot of unrest was present in my life because of the choices that I made early on, because I did not understand what was going on with me. And because of that, I chose a destructive path, which was the easiest path at that time, the simplest path, right? And that was using the drugs and alcohol to kind of cover up the emotions. And as I got older and I started going into therapy and talking with different people, I was diagnosed with so many different things. Manic depressive, the bipolar disorder, PTSD, anxiety, dissociative disorder, seasonal affective disorder, all those different things. So I've been medicated for a lot of different things: mood stabilizers, sleeping pills. I call them the calming pills, right? The anxiety medication, all of those things. I was literally a zombie. And then at the time too, I was also still had my drug problem, so I was using drugs. So nothing was helping me. I did not make therapy appointments. I did not take medication as prescribed. I took it whenever I felt that I needed it, or and if I felt that it wasn't working, I wouldn't take it anymore. Or if I wanted a boost with my drug usage or whatever I was doing and I needed a boost, then I would mix the two, and again, that led to a lot of bad things happening. One of those bad things were overdoses. I've had several overdoses, and at the time it was just like, okay, I overdosed, and that was just it. I won't do that combination again, right? And later on, though, with my usage, because it spiraled so out of control, and the drugs stopped working, right? So now, no matter how much I used, I still was having the emotional ups and downs, and the at times the disassociation. I would be driving for about 30 minutes, and this is, I'm not gonna say sober, because I don't think I hardly ever was sober, but even with like minimal drug usage, driving for 30 minutes and literally not remembering stopping at red lights or stopping at a stop sign, or think different stores or buildings that I passed, like I didn't remember. All I know is now I'm in my driveway, and that's scary, because that's was the disassociation, right? Meaning that literally I was in a whole different headspace when I should have been focusing on the road. Those type of things cause accidents, cause you to hurt yourself or others. So that was something, that bothered me, and it happened very often. And again, the drugs and alcohol, it was not helping. It was not helping anymore. But now it became, I was dependent on it. So now it went from me using those substances to deal with my mental unwellness. Now I'm using them because I have to. Because if I don't, I start withdrawing. I start feeling bad physically, and then I can't go to work. And then I can't focus, and I can't do other things. So now that's at the point when things started spiraling very out of control. Very out of control. And things started becoming very evident on the outside, what the problems were. So around 2015 was when I initially made my initial decision that I needed to do something different, right? And I'm laughing now, we gotta laugh to keep from crying. My something different at that time was, I'm gonna quit my very lucrative job. I'm gonna quit this job, because and then I'm going to focus on, really doing what I want to do, which was the drugs. At the time, crack was very, very much so my drug of choice. And it was becoming an inconvenience. It was becoming an inconvenience, having to leave work for lunch or fake meetings so that I can, get my fix, and then come back. And then I would be good for probably about 30 minutes, if I made it to an hour, before I start feeling that Jones again. Like, I need another one, right? So now I'm leaving again. So it became an inconvenience. My livelihood became an inconvenience with my Jones, for lack of better terms. So I quit my job, and of course, my parents were done at this point. My son was in high school, my daughter was in elementary school, and they were tired. They were tired of the back and forth, the in and out, the ups and downs. They were like, you know what? Leave your kids here, but you leave. My mom told me, get clean, do whatever you want to do, but you're not gonna do it here. Leave. So I left, and I went to stay with my boyfriend at the time, who was a drug dealer. And that was where the heroin really, really started to be an everyday thing for me. And that was the beginning of a horrible descent. So where I was very functioning, I really don't like the term functioning addict, but for the sake of this, I was very functioning, until I made that choice, and I became very street level. And that led me to a lot of bad things that happened, a lot of trauma, even more trauma added on to the trauma that I already had. So I did make, now I made it, it was time for me to do something different, right? And you're going to hear me say that a lot, do something different. That time, that something different was I went into treatment. And I went into treatment. I did 21 days in treatment. I left treatment because I did not like the rules. I did not like the way I felt I was being treated. I didn't like what was going on amongst staff. So I left treatment. And because I left treatment, again, my mom's like, you're not coming back home. You can go back where you were. So I went back with him. I was clean for probably about a week. And then I went back to using heroin. I started to use needles at that point and inject the heroin because, again, the snorting just it just wasn't enough, plus now I'm dealing with the fact that I can't really see my children, and I'm having all of this drama with my family, and it's like that pain was even worse. So now I needed something more to control that pain, and that was my answer, because drugs and alcohol have always been my answer to mental unrest. So again, going through everything that I was going through, I ended up in a hospital several times. One time in particular, they sent me from the emergency room straight to a mental health facility. And at that mental health facility, I did not focus. I acted out a lot because I knew that I was going to be given the level of drugs that would put me out, so that I did not have to process thoughts, feelings, or emotions. If you have ever been into a mental health facility or institution, you definitely know what I'm talking about. Because if you act out enough, they will give you a shot of something that will definitely put you to sleep. And that was just I just didn't want to deal. So I acted accordingly, and I got what at the time I wanted. I was sedated, so I did not get any benefits of any treatment they had to offer, because I really didn't have the capacity at the time to even go to groups or to go to the therapist. My main goal was to see the psychologist, get the medicine prescribed, and that's it. So when I left there, my parents started letting me come over a little bit to spend time with my children. And it was then that I was introduced to who is now my recovery coach. And for those of you who do not know what a recovery coach is, a recovery coach is somebody with lived experience that helps others navigate through their journey. Okay. So he, at that point, long story short, he helped me through the path of treatment, then 3-quarter housing, and eventually going to groups with him. It really started to get me to take a look at me. Okay. And that's where the start of my healing journey, that's when it really started, right? So in taking a look at me, what it forced me to do was to see that the drugs and alcohol were not my problem. It's what I was putting on the problem. And so then my question was, then what is the problem? And I was told a very simple answer: you. And I was like, oh, okay, that was a blow to the ego, right? And the fact of the matter is, I was the problem. The problem was inside of me. So I had to search inside. I had to do work searching inside of me to start the healing process, right? When searching inside of me, That was not something that I understood. How do I do that? Because I know me. I know me. I know what's going on with me. What are you talking about? Like, they wanted me to do this 12-step work, and I didn't understand it because I know me. Well, something I learned through the 12-step work and really getting honest was that I did not know who I was. I developed this whole false identity of somebody that I wasn't, was because I was conforming to an environment that I wanted to fit into, many different environments, right? So I started to really learn about me, the good, the bad, and the ugly. That's step 4. We'll get into that into another video. Step 4 is inventory, taking a look at yourself, right? Because in taking a look at yourself, you're going to find 2 things. One, you are not as bad as you thought you were. 2, you are not as grand as you thought you were either, right? So to help you find that balance, for example, we will have in our mind, oh, well, I was disciplining my child. However, when you really do an inventory of yourself, you start to realize, was that discipline or was it abuse? You know, discipline is redirecting a child from negative behaviors, right? Abuse is because you're angry and you can't control your emotions, and your child presents with normal things that children present with, crying or whatever, and you go crazy on them, whooping their ass, and it's really no fault of their own. It's because you are feeling unwell. You know, so those are the things that I had to take a look at and really dive into. And that's something hard to take a look at. You know, it's really, really hard to take a look at yourself, but it's so necessary. And I did that for about 3 years, but I still, there still was something, I still wasn't quite understanding what was going on with me and why I had these emotional stabilities and what that was all about. And 3 years into my recovery journey, I woke up one day and I cut all my hair off. Don't know why I did that. Right, I was a big wearer of weaves, and I always had my hair done the cutest styles, and I really prided myself on my hair. So waking up and just cutting all my hair off, that made no sense to me because I'm not a beautician. I definitely have never cut hair before. But what that left me was, it almost left me naked, bare, right? So once I came, to, I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? What's going on here? And it's like, what am I gonna do now? And that led me to find, to start doing research on locks. Right. And I really didn't like the traditional locks, the thicker locks. So I was finding like micro locks and interlock techniques and different things. And I came across sister locks, which sister locks is a technique that was trademarked by Dr. Cornwall, who started this technique. And, these are the smallest locks that you can get. And it's a special technique because the smaller the locks are, the more susceptible they are to breakages. So this particular technique kind of prevents it from breaking, it strengthens it. So I decided to do some research on that, and I found that because Sister Lock Techniques is trademarked, they suggest that you go on the website and get a licensed person to do your locks, who's licensed under the Sister Locks organization. And that's what I did. And, I called a few people. I was trying to look for a trainee because the trainees were a little less expensive, because this is very expensive. I was looking for a trainee, and people were kind of rude and, kind of dismissive. So I just kept going, and I called one young lady, and she was so nice and so kind, but she said, hey, I just started a job. She said, and I won't be able to get you in for a couple of months. And I was like, okay, And I was like, well, let me think about it. And we hung up. And then, like 30 minutes later, the same number called, but it was a different person. And she said, hi, you just called and spoke with my daughter. She said, I am a trainer. She said, my daughter is training under me. She said, but I'm a trainer. She said, I have immediate availability for you to come in. She said, however, I'm going to have to charge you normal rates because I'm a trainer. So when she told me her rates, it was 1,200, and initially I was like, oh, I don't know, whatever. But then I'm like, you know what? I was so impressed and just so relieved at the kindness, her calling back, and their energy was just amazing over the phone. So I said, you know what? It was income tax time coming. I said, yeah, I'm gonna do it. And what was amazing about this, and I won't like dwell on this, but this was the start of my spiritual journey, okay? Because this took 3 10-hour days to install. So initially, the initial install was 3 10-hour days. That's a long time to be in a room with one person, okay? When I came there, her space was so serene and so inviting and so calm. And she didn't know anything about me, anything about my journey, anything about what I was doing. However, she was very intuitive. And she had a big screen TV. So I asked her, I said, are we going to watch TV? She said, oh, we're going to watch something. She said, but I want to introduce you to something. She said, if we're going to be here for 3 days, I want to pour into you. And she introduced me to the law of attraction by way of a documentary called The Secret. It's also a book. It's a book, but they made a documentary of it. And the concept really resonated with me. And it warmed my heart, right? And we watched that, and then the rest of the time she just poured into me. And it was so amazing. It was so amazing because through her pouring into me, I really started getting some of those answers, those questions answered that I've had for so long. The why, right? And it was common sense. It made sense to me. And that started me on my spiritual journey, which led me to understanding who I am. I am Eva, and I am a strong empath. And that is an amazing gift that I have been given. See, as a child, I did not understand that gift. I did not understand that it was a gift. I did not understand that I received so much emotion because I was around so many different energies and I did not know how to sift through it, right? And recently, I have learned a lot of different techniques to really sift through the energies, maintaining my center so that I can help others. So I just wanted to give you a brief introduction of who I am and why I chose to create this space. Is so important for me to help others understand the why and what's really going on. And we find that by digging deep, okay? We find that by getting deep into the paint, for lack of better phrases, right? So I am so excited to start this journey, and I encourage anybody that would like to learn about themselves to subscribe to this channel so that you can get more and more videos and more insight to you. Because remember, you are the most important person, okay? If at any time you are asked who is the most important person of your life, I want you to get to a point where you say you are. Because you are, because If you are not well, others around you, children, family, parents, mate, they will not be well. You have to look within, not search outside of yourself for the answers, but search within yourself, and you will find all of the answers that you need. And I am here to help you along the way. Thank you so much. I'm so glad that you joined me today. I look forward to seeing you many, many, many more times. I am not going to ask you to have an amazing day. I'm going to tell you, you will have an amazing day. I love you, and may your journey be peaceful, and know that you are not alone on this journey. There is a whole tribe here to help you. All you have to do is be present. Peace.